But first, the Maine legislature is going to once again debate new gun control reforms in the next few months as a result of the mass shootings in Lewiston. There are many supporters of gun control who say they believe what happened in Lewiston changed that issue in Maine in a big way. Because of the shootings, which occurred in the city where he lives, Maine Congressman Jared Golden changed his position on banning assault rifles, something that surprised many people. 207's Don Carrigan talked with him about that and how, in the hours after the tragedy, he decided it was time to speak out.
Are you running for re-election?
Yes.
No doubts.
Oh, I've given it some thoughts.
In his third term in Congress, Jared Golden is still not your typical politician. Low-key, and by his own admission, not one who normally seeks out the spotlight, but the light found him one day after the terrible mass shooting in Golden's hometown of Lewiston.
I have opposed efforts to ban deadly weapons of war like the assault rifle used to carry out this crime. The time has now come for me to take responsibility for this failure, which is why I now call on the United States Congress to ban assault rifles like the one used by the sick perpetrator of this mass killing in my hometown of Lewiston, Maine.
2.5 months later, we talked about that turnaround on the assault rifle issue.
I was there at that press conference with Senator Collins and you. How hard was that for you, both to make that decision and to go public about it?
I thought through that a lot in the 24 hours after it started. I mean, I saw images of the shooter that very night and the rifle that he had. And it shattered a lot of perceptions that I had about why it was safe to have these types of rifles in Maine. I thought that we were different in some ways, clearly not.
But Jared Golden also has his own life experience, his time as a Marine in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I've thought since then, you're a guy who has more literal hands-on experience with weapons like that than almost anyone else involved in this discussion.
Yeah.
You've used them in combat. I assume you've fired them against an enemy.
If I were going to get in a gunfight and I couldn't have a machine gun, this is the rifle that I would choose.
Golden is also a gun owner and says the AR-15 type of rifle has been developed to be more accurate and capable than most sporting rifles.
If your objective is to kill a lot of people, there's a reason why people choose this particular rifle. And I've had to come to grips with that personally here in Lewiston. And it is, by the way, the one that I would choose if I knew I was going to be in a similar situation.
Do you have one of those weapons yourself?
I surely do.
Thousands of Mainers who are law-abiding own those rifles too. And while Golden says he is a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment, he also says those assault rifles, by their nature, pose a greater risk.
The change for me is accepting that it is uniquely dangerous and effective and different even than other semi-automatic rifles. And therefore, I think for gun owners, the best move is to come up with a different way of handling them and dealing with them, such that we aren't losing our rights, through other means, whether it be, expanded, background checks and the many other measures that we hear people talking about.
There was criticism of Golden from some gun rights advocates, but he says there hasn't been a lot of that lately, and says at this point he does not worry it will become a big problem in his campaign for re-election.
We've had some tough elections, and this is a competitive district, which I am thankful for, because I think it enables me, actually, or at least strengthens my resolve to do the job exactly the way I want to do it, and to be focused on and loyal to my own constituency. In some ways, I think that's a blessing.
Whether it's his nature or from representing a district that's pretty evenly split among the parties, Golden says he is not a party-line Democrat. For example, he's critical of the administration over its policies on the U.S. border.
So I think states on the border could take more action and more responsibility for their own borders, which,
So
by the way, we see in Texas.
Up to a point, you're okay with that?
Sure. I mean, in Texas, they put that, kind of contraption out in the river.
Yeah.
I thought that was fine. And I think that governors and other states have to, they have to answer to the people that live there.
Jared Golden is also a family guy, and he says he hates all the time away from his wife Izzy and daughter Rosemary and a second child due in March. Does that mean he wants to leave Washington and run for state office in Maine in another few years? No direct answer there, but Golden often says what he said to us. He doesn't plan on staying in Congress too long.
So whether it's another year or another 3 years, well, that's up to the voters.
Jared Golden says he thinks that instead of an outright ban on those assault-style rifles, there could be a requirement for some kind of federal permit to own one, similar to what the law has been for years in regard to machine guns. We're likely to hear more about this issue during the campaign this year, and at least one of the Republicans running for the 2nd District congressional nomination has been very critical of Golden. It's likely to be a big debate topic in the fall.